Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, how far we've come. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, one of the things that we can sometimes lose sight of in the cryptoverse is just simply how far we've come in such a short period of time. And sometimes it's worth taking a step back and remembering just how far Bitcoin has come. And I think today is probably a pretty good day to talk about that. March 13th of 2020, so exactly 2 years ago, March 13th of 2020, corresponded to our capitulation to where $3,800. Today, we sit over 10x that price at $39,000. Now, it shows you just how far we've come in only 2 years. That the fear price in March of 2020 at 3.8K has now become a fearful price in March of 2022, about 10x higher. Now, I don't say that lightly. I understand that a lot of people have joined crypto in 2021. And so for them, it's not exactly the best news to talk about, well, what was it back in 2020? Because they didn't join in 2020. But what it shows is that as long as you stick around, okay, as long as you stick around, the understanding that I have is that Bitcoin generally trends higher with time. Okay. The asset class is growing. There's obviously a ton of great news. We don't really talk about the news that much because I don't really think it affects immediate short term prices. But the asset class is growing, the user base is growing. This is going to very likely be an asset class that continues to explode over the next several years and as we continue on into this decade. Now, to give you an idea of sort of recognizing this in a more practical way rather than just saying, 2 years ago the price was 1/10 of what it is today, is to go look at some of the longer term running averages or running ROIs, return on investment. And one of the things we can look at is the 3 year ROI. What do you notice about the 3 year ROI? Well, historically, it doesn't really go below one that much. So, like the 3 year ROI tends to bottom at around one. It bottomed at around one in 2017, and then it also bottomed at around one in late 2020, very early 2021. So I mean, this was actually late 2016 to late 2020. Okay, so it bottomed at around one. And so the moral of the story is that, in any given year, you could always see a loss, right? And we're sitting at a 1 year loss, ROI loss right now, just like we were sitting at a 1 year ROI loss back in the summer of 2020 as well. So in any given year, you might not see the best returns. If you look at 2 years, there still can be phases, although very brief, that you could still experience a drawdown as if you had bought from when you had bought 2 years before. 3 years, you're very hard pressed to find a time where you're not break even or above, and your 4 year ROI has always historically been above one. Okay. And until recently, it had been above 10 as well. But I mean, of course, when you account for diminishing returns, eventually it's, you can't just stay at 10x forever when you're dealing with a growing asset class into the trillions by market capitalization. So I think one of the things to consider when thinking about Bitcoin is, as cliche as it is, right? It's a long-term investment. It's something that you focus on for the long haul. It's not a quick flip. Again, I'm not here to day trade. I would just lose money if I try to do so. But what I am here to do is show you the macro trends and show that, look, in the short term, anything can happen. It's possible that the price of Bitcoin goes down, it goes up, it goes sideways. No one really knows. But what Bitcoin generally does do, is that it trends higher with time. And that's the key thing, right? It trends higher with time. So like tomorrow's or I should say today's FOMO price could be tomorrow's fear price, right? It was only about a year ago, in fact, we were at these levels at around the upper $30,000 level, right around $40,000. 1 year ago, this was a FOMO price. This was a what is Bitcoin doing? It's going absolutely crazy. You fast forward 1 year, this is like everyone's fear price, right? Like $39,000. Like, what's going to happen? So try to have some perspective. I mean, of course, we understand the downside risk. We've talked about that. Of course, Bitcoin could go lower in the short term, but the general direction, in my opinion, remains up. And all you really need to do is look at things like, long-term running ROIs for Bitcoin, and you can see that even the 3-year ROI does spend a decent amount of its time above 10 in and of itself. So just consider this a long-term investment. Recognize how far we've come. It's easy to cherry pick, say, the last 5 months or the last 3 months, the last 2 weeks. But when you look at the asset class as a whole, time is on our side, right? Time is on our side as we just continue to more or less just trend higher. And then we go through phases of overvaluation and phases of undervaluation. And right now we're sort of just sitting in that fair value logarithmic regression band. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.